The first breath I took on Eridaris felt like inhaling liquid fire. The atmosphere here was notorious. Its swirling clouds of toxic gas and electrified storms had become the stuff of nightmares. Yet, for me, that first breath was a strange awakening. I was Marcus Hale, a former soldier who thought he knew the meaning of danger. But nothing prepared me for life on this Deathworld. Our colony, named Haven, was a collection of makeshift structures built from salvaged materials and reinforced with the strongest alloys we could scavenge. We had fought hard to survive, battling not just the hostile environment, but also each other's fears and doubts. When we first arrived, the reality of living here felt overwhelming, like standing on the edge of a vast chasm, staring into the abyss. But the truth was, we had no choice. We were survivors. Eridaris was more than just a planet. It was a crucible. The violent storms, swirling with violet lightning and acid rain, shaped us in ways we could hardly understand. With each passing day, we learned to adapt, to harness the very dangers that threatened our lives. And as the storms raged outside, I began to notice subtle changes within myself. "Marcus," a voice cut through the howling winds outside. It was Alex, my closest friend and a fellow survivor. "Get over here, you need to see this." I stepped outside, shielding my eyes from the dust-laden winds. The sky was a furious canvas of purple and green, a wild dance of electric chaos. Alex stood at the edge of our small camp, pointing towards the horizon. "Look." In the distance, a massive storm was forming, dark clouds churning ominously. But that wasn't what captivated my attention. In the heart of that storm, an unearthly light flickered, pulsating rhythmically as if beckoning us. It was mesmerizing and terrifying all at once. "What do you think it is?" I asked, instinctively reaching for the sidearm holstered at my waist. "I don't know," Alex replied, his voice a mix of wonder and dread. "But I think we need to find out." The decision to investigate was impulsive, driven by the unquenchable curiosity that had brought us to this hellish paradise in the first place. We gathered a small team: Jace, our tech specialist, and Malik, a burly former miner with a heart of gold. Together, we set off toward the storm, our breaths clouding in the humid air, our hearts racing with the thrill of discovery. As we drew closer, the world around us felt charged, as if the very atmosphere was alive, thrumming with energy. The air crackled with a peculiar sensation, and I could feel my body responding, awakening to something profound. My senses sharpened, the faintest sounds became clearer, and the scents of the storm were intoxicating: sulfur, ozone, and the sharp tang of electricity. "We need to stay alert," I cautioned as we approached the storm's edge. "This could be a trap." But Jace, with his unyielding spirit, stepped forward. "It's just a storm, Marcus. We've faced worse." He looked at the swirling clouds, his eyes reflecting the flickering lights within. "Whatever's in there, it's calling to us." Before I could argue, Jace rushed forward, and with a shared glance, Alex, Malik, and I followed him into the tempest. As we crossed the threshold, the world shifted around us. The winds howled louder, and the ground trembled beneath our feet. It was exhilarating and terrifying, and a part of me felt alive in a way I had never experienced. Then, just as suddenly, we entered a clearing. The chaos of the storm dissipated, revealing a surreal landscape bathed in an eerie glow. We stood at the edge of a massive crater, its walls lined with bioluminescent flora that pulsed in rhythm with the lights above. The air felt different here, thicker, almost charged with a vitality I couldn't explain. "What is this place?" Malik whispered, his eyes wide with wonder. "It's like nothing I've ever seen," Alex breathed, stepping closer to the crater's edge. The depths seemed to swirl with a liquid light, mesmerizing us all. It was both beautiful and foreboding. Suddenly, the ground beneath us quaked violently, and a surge of energy rippled through the air. I grabbed Alex's arm, pulling him back just as a burst of radiant energy erupted from the crater, engulfing us in a blinding light. For a moment, I felt weightless, suspended in a void of color and sound. And then, just as suddenly, the light vanished, and we crashed to the ground, disoriented but unharmed. "What just happened?" Jace groaned, shaking his head as he stood up. "I think I'm going to be sick." I pushed myself up, scanning our surroundings. "Everyone okay?" I asked, my heart pounding. "Yeah," Alex said, brushing dirt off his clothes. But what was that? As I looked around, I realized something had changed. The air felt different in my lungs, heavier yet exhilarating. My senses were heightened, the world sharper and more vivid. I felt stronger, faster, as if something inside me had awakened. "We need to get back," I said, my voice steady but urgent. "Whatever that was, we can't stay here. We need to process this." As we retraced our steps, I couldn't shake the feeling that we had just stumbled upon something monumental. The atmosphere of Eridaris was a lethal trap for most species, yet for us, it was becoming a source of power, a strange paradox. When we returned to Haven, the others were waiting, anxious for our report. I felt a surge of responsibility as I faced the small group of survivors. "We found something incredible," I began, my heart racing. "Something that could change everything." "What do you mean?" one of the newer colonists, a young man named Leo, asked, his eyes wide with curiosity. I took a deep breath, sharing our discovery, the glowing crater, and the strange energy that had enveloped us. "We need to explore this further," I concluded. "If we can harness whatever we experienced, it could give us an edge against any threats we face." As murmurs of excitement spread through the group, I felt a sense of purpose building within me. We were no longer just survivors, we were pioneers on the brink of a breakthrough. But beneath that excitement lay a nagging fear: what if we had unleashed something beyond our control? Little did I know, the answer to that question was closer than I realized. As we prepared to delve deeper into the mysteries of our hostile home, the shadows of the Zypherians loomed closer, and our struggle for survival was only just beginning. The next few days in Haven were a whirlwind of preparation and anticipation. News of our discovery spread like wildfire, igniting a newfound hope among the colonists. The atmosphere buzzed with excitement, and we gathered around makeshift tables, poring over maps and schematics of the crater while strategizing our next move. I found myself leading the charge. The experience had awakened something within me, a determination to protect our colony and uncover the secrets of this planet. The others looked to me for guidance, and that weight felt both exhilarating and terrifying. I had never imagined myself as a leader, but necessity often forces us into roles we never sought. "Marcus, we need a plan," Alex said one evening, leaning over a holographic projection of the crater. The flickering lights danced across his determined face. "If we're going back, we should have a better understanding of what we're dealing with." I nodded, chewing on my lip. "Agreed. We need to gather more data, samples from the flora, and analyze the energy signatures. Jace, you're our tech expert. Can you rig something up?" "Already on it," Jace replied, enthusiasm bubbling in his voice. "I'll build a sensor array that can measure the energy levels and atmospheric composition. We'll be able to track any changes as we approach the crater." Malik, who had taken on the role of our muscle, crossed his arms. "I'll handle the security detail. If there's anything dangerous lurking around, I'll be the first to know." With our plan in place, we assembled a team. Alongside Alex, Jace, and Malik, I invited Leo, eager to prove himself after his earlier curiosity. He was young, but there was an undeniable spark in his eyes, a hunger for adventure that reminded me of my own youthful days. The day of our expedition arrived, and the atmosphere felt charged with energy. As we set out toward the crater, I could sense an undercurrent of excitement mixed with anxiety. We were venturing into the unknown, but the thrill of discovery propelled us forward. Navigating through the treacherous terrain of Eridaris, we encountered all manner of bizarre life forms. Strange, bioluminescent plants twisted toward the sky, and creatures scuttled away as we approached, their scales shimmering like polished metal. We were in an alien world, one that felt both beautiful and dangerous. As we neared the crater's edge, the air crackled with a familiar energy. Jace had modified his tech, and the sensor array flickered to life, displaying streams of data that scrolled across his tablet. "It's incredible," he said, his eyes widening. "The energy readings are off the charts." "Keep it steady, Jace," I cautioned, feeling the ground tremble beneath us. We don't want to provoke anything. The crater's walls loomed overhead, pulsating with an ethereal glow. My heart raced as I took in the spectacle. This was the heart of Eridaris's power, the nexus of energy that we had only just begun to understand. "Let's set up the sensor array here," I directed, pointing to a flat surface near the edge. "We can gather data while keeping a safe distance from the crater's edge." As we began our work, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched. A cold shiver danced along my spine, and I glanced around, searching the shadows. Nothing moved, but an instinctive wariness lingered in the air, thick and palpable. Hours passed as we collected samples and analyzed the data. The energy from the crater seemed to ebb and flow, reacting to our presence, as if it had a will of its own. Jace was lost in his calculations, muttering excitedly about the potential applications for our technology. Malik stood vigilant, scanning the horizon, while Leo eagerly documented everything. Suddenly, a low rumble echoed through the air, vibrating the ground beneath us. I glanced at Jace, who had frozen mid-sentence, his face pale. "What was that?" I asked, tension rising in my chest. "Not sure," he replied, eyes wide. "But the readings are fluctuating wildly. Something's changing." Before I could respond, the ground shook violently, sending us sprawling to the ground. The crater erupted in a blinding flash of light, and I instinctively shielded my eyes. When I dared to look, a massive figure emerged from the depths of the crater. It was a Zypherian, a creature of pure muscle and scales, its body shifting and undulating with an otherworldly grace. Its eyes glowed with a fierce intelligence, locking onto us with predatory intent. My heart raced. These beings were the apex predators of Eridaris, feared by every colonist. "Fall back," I shouted, adrenaline flooding my system. We scrambled to our feet, retreating from the edge of the crater. But Leo was frozen in place, his eyes wide with awe and fear. "It's beautiful," he whispered, almost entranced by the creature before him. "Leo, move," I shouted, grabbing his arm and yanking him back. The Zypherian roared, a sound that vibrated through my bones, and suddenly, I felt a surge of energy. "Get ready," Malik shouted, positioning himself between us and the approaching creature. I could see his muscles tense, ready for a fight. "Jace, activate the array," I commanded, my mind racing. If we were going to survive this, we needed to understand what we were dealing with. Jace scrambled to his feet, fumbling with his tablet as the Zypherian lunged forward, its claws glinting in the dim light. Just as it reached us, Jace activated the sensor array, and a brilliant beam of light shot from the device, enveloping the creature. The Zypherian halted, confusion etched across its features. Its scales shimmered, reflecting the colors of the beam. For a moment, I thought we had angered it beyond belief, but then something extraordinary happened. The energy from the crater surged again, flowing into the Zypherian. I watched in disbelief as the creature's form began to change, its body absorbing the energy and transforming. It grew larger, more powerful, yet somehow still graceful. "Is it evolving?" Alex gasped, awe mingling with fear. "How is this happening?" "I don't know," I admitted, my mind racing. "But we need to get out of here now." As the Zypherian finished its transformation, a deep, resonant voice filled the air, echoing through the crater. "You seek power, humans. You wish to harness the storms of Eridaris." My heart pounded in my chest. The Zypherian spoke our language, yet its voice resonated with a primal authority. "You have awakened the energy within," it continued, its gaze piercing. "But be warned, this power comes with a price." "What do you mean?" I stammered, trying to keep my fear at bay. "We just want to survive." "Survival is not enough," the creature intoned. "You must learn to control it, or it will consume you." With that warning, the Zypherian lunged forward, but instead of attacking, it swirled around us, drawing the energy from the air. I felt an overwhelming force building, and I braced myself against the pressure. "We have to leave," I shouted, pushing Leo and Jace back as Malik held his ground. The air crackled with energy, and in that moment, I realized we had stumbled into something far beyond our understanding. Our pursuit of knowledge had awakened powers that could either save us or lead to our doom. As the Zypherian circled us, a thought struck me. Perhaps this creature was not our enemy, but a guardian of this power. Before I could voice my theory, the ground shook once more, and the Zypherian roared. If you wish to survive, learn, embrace the storms, find the path to mastery. Then, with a flash of blinding light, the creature vanished into the swirling chaos of the crater, leaving us stunned and gasping for breath. The sensor array lay in ruins, but the readings had etched themselves into my mind. "Did that just happen?" Jace whispered, disbelief coloring his voice. "Whatever it was, we need to regroup and figure this out," I said, my heart racing. "This isn't just about survival anymore. We have a chance to harness something incredible." But the reality of what lay ahead weighed heavily on my shoulders. The Zypherian's warning echoed in my mind, a haunting reminder that power comes at a cost. As we stumbled back toward Haven, I knew our journey was just beginning. We had awakened a force that could change everything, and now it was up to us to learn how to wield it. As we made our way back to Haven, the atmosphere felt different. The air was thick with anticipation, the lingering energy from the crater swirling around us, electrifying our senses. I could almost taste the potential on my tongue, but the Zypherian's warning loomed like a shadow over our excitement. Once we reached the settlement, I convened a meeting in the communal hall. Colonists gathered, their expressions a mix of curiosity and concern. I stood before them, the weight of leadership pressing down on my shoulders. "What we discovered at the crater is far beyond what we ever imagined," I began, pacing the floor. "The Zypherian, this creature claimed that we have awakened a power within the atmosphere of Eridaris, a power that can either save us or lead to our doom." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Alex and Malik stood at the front, their eyes fixed on me. I knew they were as invested in this as I was, and I could feel their support bolstering my confidence. "What does that mean for us?" an older colonist named Alara asked, her voice tinged with skepticism. "How can we trust this creature?" "It's true," I replied, steeling myself against the skepticism. "But we can't ignore the potential. If we learn to harness this energy, it could provide us with unprecedented strength. We could protect ourselves from threats, weather storms, and even cultivate the land." Jace stepped forward, his eyes shining with excitement. "I can create technology to help us tap into this energy. We need to study the Zypherian's transformation and understand the mechanics behind it. If we can replicate that, we could enhance our abilities beyond anything we thought possible." "What if it consumes us instead?" a voice shouted from the back. "What if we become the monsters we're trying to escape?" A hush fell over the room as fear gripped everyone. I could see the doubt etched on their faces. "I understand your concerns," I said, raising my hands to calm them. "But this is our chance to take control of our fate. We can't let fear dictate our choices." I felt the energy within me surge, a determination that transcended the fear swirling around us. "We need volunteers to join us in studying this power. Together, we can explore its potential and learn to control it before it controls us." Slowly, hands began to rise. First, it was Malik, then Alex. Leo followed, his youthful spirit shining through the fear. One by one, more colonists joined, their faces shifting from doubt to hope. I felt a rush of gratitude for their trust. Over the following weeks, we dedicated ourselves to the study of the energy and the phenomena surrounding the Zypherian. Jace and I worked tirelessly, constructing new devices to measure the atmospheric energy levels, experimenting with harnessing the forces around us. Our lab became a hub of innovation, filled with makeshift machinery and eager minds. Each day, we ventured out to the crater, absorbing data and testing our limits. I could feel the atmosphere of Eridaris wrapping around me like a second skin, the energy pulsing and swirling in response to our presence. It was intoxicating. During one session, as we monitored the energy readings, Jace exclaimed, "Look at this fluctuation. It's responding to our movements, if we can sync with it." His voice trailed off as the realization hit us. "We can manipulate it," I shouted, excitement bubbling over. If we can channel our physicality with the energy flow, we could amplify our strength. Malik nodded, a fierce grin spreading across his face. Let's do it. We can train ourselves to become conduits of this energy. Our training began. Day after day, we practiced synchronizing our movements with the energy, learning to tap into the atmosphere around us. With every session, I felt the power surging through my veins, transforming me. I could lift heavier objects, run faster, and feel more alive than ever. One afternoon, as we were training, a realization struck me. What if we could share this energy, I proposed. If we could connect with one another, we might amplify our abilities even further. Jace's eyes lit up. It's risky, but if we create a network of trust and energy flow, we could enhance each other's power. After gathering our courage, we formed a circle, standing shoulder to shoulder. I could feel the anticipation humming in the air. We need to focus, I instructed. Let's draw the energy from the atmosphere and channel it through each other. We closed our eyes, focusing on the energy surrounding us, drawing it in like a tide. As we connected our minds and hearts, I felt the atmosphere respond, a wave of power surging through us. We lifted our arms, and suddenly, the energy burst forth in a brilliant display of light, illuminating the clearing around us. Do you feel that? Leo gasped, his voice tinged with awe. It's incredible. The energy we harnessed became a physical force, swirling around us like a tempest. I opened my eyes, and to my shock, I saw Malik lifting a boulder effortlessly, while Jace manipulated the energy to create a shield that absorbed impacts. This is it, I shouted, exhilaration surging through me. We can become more than just survivors. We can be warriors. But the euphoria was short-lived. The ground trembled beneath our feet, and a deafening roar echoed through the valley. From the shadows of the crater, another Zypherian emerged, its eyes gleaming with hostility. We have to get back, I shouted, but the creature was already lunging at us. Instinctively, I reached for the energy around me, channeling it into a protective barrier. The creature collided with the barrier, sending shockwaves through the ground. It roared again, undeterred, and I felt the pressure of the energy pushing back against me. Hold it, I shouted, struggling to maintain the barrier. Malik charged forward, drawing on the energy we had harnessed. We can't let it take us down, he yelled, his muscles straining as he confronted the beast. With a newfound determination, we combined our powers, channeling our energy into a singular force. The Zypherian paused, sensing the shift in our unity. I focused, drawing from the very essence of the atmosphere, feeling the power coursing through us. Now, I commanded, and we unleashed our combined energy. A brilliant beam shot forth, striking the Zypherian and knocking it back. The creature howled in fury, its scales shimmering ominously. But instead of retreating, the Zypherian charged again, this time more determined than ever. It's stronger than the last one, Jace shouted, panic rising in his voice. Stay focused, I urged, trying to keep the energy flowing. We were no longer just a group of colonists. We had transformed into a unit, bonded by the atmosphere's power. As the Zypherian lunged, I felt a surge of clarity. We need to connect deeper, I said, my voice steady. Trust one another completely. We closed our eyes, reaching out mentally and emotionally. In that moment of vulnerability, I felt the others drawing from me as I drew from them. The energy intensified, resonating with our combined resolve. When the Zypherian struck, we were ready. The force of our unity amplified our defenses, creating a shimmering wall of energy that absorbed the impact. I opened my eyes, feeling invincible. Now, let's finish this, I shouted, and we focused all our energy into one powerful attack. The beam shot forth, and the Zypherian staggered back, its roar echoing through the valley as it finally retreated into the shadows. Breathless and exhilarated, we stood together, united by our shared experience. I couldn't help but grin. We did it. We actually did it. But even in our victory, the Zypherian's warning echoed in my mind. This power was a double-edged sword, and we had only just begun to scratch the surface. As we caught our breath, I knew we were on the brink of something extraordinary. but the path ahead was fraught with danger. We had awakened a force, but mastering it would demand everything we had. And if we were to survive in this hostile world, we would need to forge deeper connections, harness the energy of Eridaris, and prepare for whatever challenges lay ahead. In the aftermath of our confrontation with the Zypherian, a palpable shift swept through Haven. The atmosphere buzzed with renewed energy, but it also crackled with tension. We had proven our strength, but the knowledge that other Zypherian creatures lurked in the shadows weighed heavily on our minds. We were no longer just survivors. We were something more, warriors forged in the crucible of Eridaris. Over the next few weeks, we intensified our training, focusing on refining our abilities and understanding the dynamics of the atmospheric energy we had begun to harness. Each session brought new challenges, new revelations, and a growing bond among us. In the heart of our training ground, a makeshift arena surrounded by the twisted trees of the Eridarian landscape, we began to test the limits of our powers. I watched as Malik and Leo faced off, channeling energy into their movements. Malik struck with precision, sending a shockwave through the ground that knocked Leo off his feet. "Come on, Leo, you can do better," I called, pushing him to dig deeper. With determination, Leo regained his footing and responded with a flurry of blows enhanced by his newfound strength. As the energy danced around him, I could see the confidence blooming in his eyes. "Nice move," Jace shouted, adjusting the apparatus he had built to monitor our energy levels. "You're getting the hang of it." "Let's try something different," I suggested, stepping into the ring. "How about we work on teamwork?" We formed a circle, facing each other, and I explained the plan. "We'll channel our energy into a single point and unleash it as one. The more we trust each other, the stronger the blast will be." Everyone nodded, excitement sparking in their eyes. We closed our eyes, taking a deep breath as we reached out mentally, feeling each other's energy pulse in the air. The atmosphere thickened, and I felt the energy swirl around us like a living entity. "Now, draw from the atmosphere and channel it through each other," I instructed. "Focus." As we concentrated, I could feel the energy building, a potent force pooling at the center of our circle. Suddenly, I opened my eyes, and a brilliant light erupted from our combined efforts, shooting skyward in a dazzling display. "Look at that," Jace exclaimed, pointing at the bright trail slicing through the sky. "We're making waves." But just as we celebrated, the ground trembled beneath us, and I felt a familiar sense of dread. "We need to be cautious," I warned, scanning the horizon. "This energy might attract more Zypherian attention." In the days that followed, we remained vigilant, aware that our training had likely drawn the creatures to us. We set up lookout posts around Haven, keeping a close eye on any disturbances in the landscape. I knew we couldn't afford to let our guard down. Then, one evening, just as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting an orange glow across the sky, a warning cry echoed through the air. The watchful sentry, a young colonist named Nia, sprinted into the settlement, her face pale with fear. "It's back. Another Zypherian is approaching." Panic rippled through the group, but I felt the familiar surge of adrenaline. "Everyone, gather. We need to prepare." We quickly assembled, adrenaline coursing through our veins. I could feel the atmosphere humming, charged with energy, as we readied ourselves for the impending confrontation. "Stick together," I commanded, scanning the area. "We've trained for this. Trust in our abilities and each other." As the Zypherian emerged from the shadows, a massive creature covered in iridescent scales, I could see it was even larger than the one we had faced before. Its eyes glowed ominously, fixated on our group, and I felt the tension thicken. It let out a chilling roar, reverberating through the valley. "Prepare yourselves," I shouted, raising my arms. "Channel the energy." We focused, drawing from the atmosphere around us. The air crackled as we formed a defensive line, our combined energy radiating outward. I felt the warmth of my friends beside me, their determination fueling my own. As the Zypherian charged, I yelled, "Now, unleash the barrier." With one unified push, we sent a wall of energy crashing toward the beast. It collided with a Zypherian, momentarily staggering it back. The creature roared in fury, shaking off the impact and launching itself toward us with renewed ferocity. "Keep pushing," I shouted, our energy weaving together, forming a protective shield. I felt the intensity of the moment. We were no longer just individuals, but a cohesive force. The Zypherian's claws raked against our shield, but we held firm. "Concentrate," I urged, focusing on drawing every ounce of strength from the atmosphere. The energy around us pulsed and flickered, and we pushed back, creating a surge that caught the creature off guard. The Zypherian stumbled, but it quickly regained its footing, fury evident in its eyes. I could see its muscles tensing, preparing for another charge. "Get ready," I warned. This time, as it lunged, we anticipated the move. "Combine your energy," I commanded, channeling the raw force into one concentrated blast. The resulting wave shot forth, colliding with the Zypherian mid-stride. The explosion of energy lit up the night, momentarily blinding us. When the light faded, the Zypherian lay on the ground, the glow in its eyes dimming. We held our breath, uncertainty hanging in the air. Then, the creature stirred, letting out a final, mournful cry before retreating into the darkness. A cheer erupted from the group, relief flooding through us. "We did it," Malik exclaimed, pumping his fist in the air. "We actually drove it away." But my heart was heavy. "This isn't over," I said, my voice steady. "We've just proven our strength, but we've also drawn attention. We need to be prepared for what comes next." As we gathered together, the atmosphere around us felt different, charged with victory, but laced with the knowledge that the Zypherian threat was far from extinguished. It was time to take our training to the next level. We needed to delve deeper into understanding the energy of Eridaris, not only to protect ourselves, but also to harness its power in ways we had yet to imagine. In the days that followed, we focused on refining our techniques, pushing our limits further. We experimented with creating new forms of energy manipulation, learning to shape it into weapons and shields that could protect us from future threats. With every breakthrough, I felt the bond among us deepen. We weren't just a group of survivors anymore, we were a family, united by purpose and strength. But the atmosphere of Eridaris held more secrets, and as we ventured further into our training, I knew we were only beginning to scratch the surface of its true potential. As days turned into weeks, the atmosphere of Eridaris became our ally, its lethal energy weaving itself into our very essence. Each morning, we gathered to train, the rising sun casting a golden hue over our makeshift arena. It felt like a ritual, a communion with the planet that had transformed us. The air crackled with excitement as we continued to explore the depths of our abilities. Malik had taken a particular interest in manipulating the energy into physical forms. One day, I watched him focus intently, his brow furrowed in concentration. With a flick of his wrist, a shimmering blade of energy materialized in his hand, reflecting the sunlight. "Look at that," I called out, marveling at his creation. "You've turned the atmosphere into a weapon." He grinned, a spark of pride lighting up his face. "Just wait until I can make it explode." I turned to the others, my heart swelling with pride. We had come so far, but the specter of the Zypherian threat loomed over us like a storm cloud. We needed to prepare for their return. As if summoned by my thoughts, a deep rumble echoed through the air, shaking the ground beneath us. We froze, exchanging worried glances. The unmistakable roar of a Zypherian reverberated in the distance, chilling my spine. "Everyone, to your positions," I shouted, adrenaline surging. We quickly gathered, forming a protective circle around our training area. I felt the familiar tension in the air, a mix of fear and anticipation. The Zypherian emerged from the tree line, its massive form silhouetted against the sky. It was larger than the previous one, its scales glistening menacingly in the sunlight. Fear washed over me, but I pushed it aside, drawing on the energy around us. "We've faced worse," I reminded the group, my voice steady. "We can do this. Trust in each other and our training." The creature charged, its eyes locked onto us with a primal rage. I felt the air shift, charged with energy, as we prepared to defend ourselves. Channel the energy, I yelled, raising my arms. We focused, the atmosphere responding to our commands as we conjured a barrier of energy in front of us. The Zypherian crashed against our shield, the impact reverberating through our bodies. I gritted my teeth, feeling the strain of the creature's power. Hold strong, we've trained for this. The barrier held for a moment longer, but the Zypherian's relentless assault was beginning to weaken our defenses. It roared again, and I could see the determination in its eyes. It wasn't going to back down. Malik, Leo, focus on creating offensive weapons, I shouted. We need to strike back. They nodded, their expressions resolute. Malik's blade of energy materialized once more, and Leo summoned a barrage of smaller energy orbs, each crackling with raw power. On my mark, I yelled, readying myself. Now. The three of us unleashed our attacks simultaneously. Malik's blade sliced through the air, while Leo's orbs exploded against the Zypherian's side. The creature howled in pain, stumbling back for a brief moment. Keep pushing, I urged, feeling the rush of adrenaline fueling my resolve. We can't let up now. As the Zypherian regained its footing, it let out a deafening roar, the sound vibrating through the ground. It turned its gaze toward me, and for a heartbeat I felt a surge of fear. But I quickly shook it off, channeling the energy around us. Let's combine our strength, I shouted. Form a concentrated blast. We gathered our energy, feeling it swell between us like a storm. The atmosphere hummed with power, and I could feel the synergy of our bond strengthening the attack. Now, I commanded, directing the energy toward the Zypherian. A brilliant beam shot forth, striking the creature squarely in the chest. The impact sent it sprawling, but I noticed a flicker of determination in its eyes. It wasn't done yet. Stay focused, I warned, but it was too late. The Zypherian rose with renewed fury, and with a fierce bellow, it lunged toward us again. This time, however, we were ready. We spread out, creating a wider formation. I could see Leo and Malik on either side of me, their faces set with grim determination. Let's show this beast what we're made of, I yelled, launching forward. We met the creature in a flurry of energy and strength, our attacks colliding with its own ferocity. I felt the thrill of battle coursing through my veins, the world around me fading as I focused solely on the Zypherian. Each strike we landed fueled my resolve, igniting a fire within me that I had never known before. As the battle raged on, we pushed the Zypherian back, driving it toward the edge of our training ground. I could see the determination in my friends' eyes, their growth mirrored my own. But just as victory seemed within reach, the Zypherian unleashed a desperate roar, its body shimmering with a new intensity. I felt a wave of heat wash over us, and my heart raced. Get back, I shouted, realizing too late that it was charging up for a massive counterattack. The ground shook as the creature released its pent-up energy, a shockwave that knocked us off our feet. We tumbled, struggling to regain our balance as the blast ripped through the air. I scrambled to my feet, my heart pounding as I searched for my friends. They were still upright, albeit shaken, and I felt a surge of relief. "Are you okay?" I called out, my voice strained from the chaos. "Yeah, just a bit rattled," Malik replied, shaking his head to clear the dizziness. "But we need to finish this." As the Zypherian prepared to strike again, I realized we had one last chance. I took a deep breath, centering myself as I focused on the atmosphere. "Everyone, we need to combine everything we've learned. This is our moment," I shouted, urging them to gather their strength. Together, we drew on the atmosphere, feeling the energy swell around us, stronger than ever before. As the Zypherian charged, we unleashed our combined might, a blinding torrent of energy that enveloped the creature. The world around us faded to white as the energy clashed, and I felt the raw power of Eridaris coursing through us. It was exhilarating, a feeling of absolute unity, and I knew this was our destiny. With one final surge, our attack pierced through the blinding light, striking the Zypherian directly. The creature roared, its form flickering before it collapsed to the ground, defeated. As the light faded and silence enveloped the training ground, we stood victorious, our breaths ragged, but our spirits soaring. We had faced the beast and emerged stronger than before. "We did it!" Leo shouted, his voice breaking the stillness. "We actually did it!" I felt a surge of pride swell within me as we gathered, our bond unbreakable. But in the back of my mind, a nagging thought lingered. We had triumphed today, but we were still just beginning to unlock the full potential of Eridaris. The atmosphere held secrets we had yet to discover, and as we celebrated, I couldn't shake the feeling that our greatest challenges were still ahead. The victory over the Zypherian felt like a turning point. We had transformed from prey into predators, wielding the very atmosphere that once threatened our lives. In the days that followed, we threw ourselves into our training with renewed vigor. Each dawn brought new discoveries about our abilities, and we learned to harness the lethal energy of Eridaris like never before. One afternoon, Malik proposed a new challenge. "Let's try to merge our powers. If we can amplify each other's abilities, we might become even stronger." I nodded, excitement coursing through me. "Good idea. We've been working individually, but we need to learn to collaborate on a larger scale." We gathered in our training arena, our spirits high. Malik paired with Leo, and I stood opposite them, ready to test our abilities. "Let's start with basic energy manipulation," I suggested. "Focus on channeling the energy between us. I'll create a barrier, and you two can strike it to see how much power we can generate." As we settled into our positions, I could feel the atmosphere thrum with anticipation. I raised my arms, channeling energy into a shimmering shield that arced above us. "Ready?" I called, locking eyes with my friends. They nodded, determination etched on their faces. "Go," I commanded. Malik and Leo launched their attacks, their combined energy slamming into my barrier. The impact resonated through me, sending ripples of energy into the atmosphere. I could feel the power swirling around us, pushing against the confines of my shield. "Keep it steady," I shouted, struggling to maintain the barrier. But as the energy surged, I felt an unfamiliar sensation of pull, as if the atmosphere was responding to our combined strength. With a shout of excitement, Malik pushed harder, and I felt the barrier begin to shimmer. "It's working. Keep going." In an instant, I understood how to direct the energy. I shifted my focus, allowing the pull of the atmosphere to guide me. "Channel it. Let the energy flow through us." Together, we drew on the surrounding energy, feeling it envelop us like a cocoon. The air crackled with intensity, and I could see vibrant tendrils of light arcing between us. "Now, let's break the barrier," I yelled, my voice filled with exhilaration. With a unified roar, we unleashed our energy, the combined force exploding outward in a blinding flash. The shockwave rippled across the arena, and I felt the rush of exhilaration as we stood amidst the chaos we'd created. As the dust settled, I couldn't help but grin at my friends. That was incredible. We actually managed to amplify our powers. Malik's eyes sparkled with excitement. "Just imagine what we could do in battle. If we keep honing this technique, we could take on entire swathes of Zypherians." We spent the next few days experimenting with our newfound ability, pushing our limits and discovering the nuances of our powers. With each session, our confidence grew, and the bonds between us deepened. But as we trained, I couldn't shake the feeling that we needed more than just strength. We needed strategy. The Zypherian threat wasn't just brute force, it was cunning and unpredictability. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, I gathered the group around a fire. "We need to discuss our next steps," I said, the flames casting flickering shadows on our faces. "We've improved, but we need to develop a plan. We can't rely solely on brute strength." Malik nodded, leaning forward. "What do you have in mind?" I paused, gathering my thoughts. "We know the Zypherians will come back. They won't rest until they reclaim their territory. We should set traps and strategize how to lure them into positions where we can use our abilities to our advantage." Leo raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "Traps? How do we make that work?" I glanced at the surrounding environment, brainstorming. "We could use the landscape to our advantage. For example, if we can draw them into the narrow canyon over there, we could ambush them from above while they're vulnerable. Sounds risky, Malik said, though there was a hint of excitement in his voice. But it could work. We can create energy barriers at the canyon's mouth to control their movements. Exactly, I replied, my enthusiasm growing. We can set up defensive positions while leaving an opening that would lead them right into our trap. We spent the following days mapping out the terrain, plotting ambush points and escape routes. We practiced our coordinated attacks, ensuring we could execute our plan flawlessly when the time came. But even as we prepared, the tension in the air was palpable. Every sound from the treetops made my heart race, each shadow a potential harbinger of the Zypherians' return. Finally, one fateful morning, our training was interrupted by a series of thunderous roars. The ground shook beneath us, and instinctively, we rushed to our lookout point, the world around us blurring with adrenaline. There, in the distance, a horde of Zypherians emerged, their massive forms weaving through the trees like a dark tide. I felt a mix of dread and exhilaration. "This is it," I yelled, my heart racing. "Time to put our plan into action." We sprinted to our positions, adrenaline surging through our veins. I glanced back at my friends, their faces set with determination. Together, we had come so far. As the Zypherians approached, I could feel the atmosphere shift, charged with energy and anticipation. This was our moment, a culmination of our training, our bonds, and our strength. "Remember," I shouted over the roar of the approaching horde, "stay focused and trust in each other." With a final nod, we prepared to unleash our strategy against the oncoming storm. The roar of the Zypherian horde sent chills down my spine. Their massive forms moved like a living wall, a reminder of the threat we faced. I took a deep breath, centering myself amidst the chaos. We had trained for this moment. Now it was time to execute our plan. "Positions," I shouted, urgency fueling my voice. Malik and Leo took their spots, their eyes locked on the approaching enemy. The narrow canyon loomed ahead, our designated trap. As the first wave of Zypherians entered the canyon, I felt a surge of adrenaline. "Now," I yelled, signaling our ambush. Malik raised his hands, channeling energy into a barrier at the canyon's entrance. The shimmering wall pulsed with power, catching the attention of the lead Zypherian. It hesitated, confusion evident on its twisted face. "Keep it steady," I urged Malik, feeling the pressure mount. We needed to hold the barrier long enough to trap as many as possible. Leo joined in, amplifying the barrier's strength. "We've got this, just hold on." With the horde pressing closer, the lead Zypherian charged, slamming into Malik's barrier. The impact reverberated through us, shaking the ground. "It's working! They're coming!" Malik shouted, his determination unwavering. I glanced back at the entrance of the canyon, feeling the weight of our plan rest on our shoulders. Prepare for the next wave. As more Zypherians entered, we began our counterattack. "Now, unleash," I commanded. We launched our combined energy at the advancing horde, a torrent of light and power cascading down the canyon walls. The surge caught the Zypherians off guard, sending them reeling backward. The first wave stumbled into the others, a chaotic mass of thrashing limbs and roaring confusion. "Keep them in the canyon," I yelled, my heart racing as we unleashed another wave of energy. Leo's eyes sparkled with determination. "I'll cover the right flank. Malik, you take the left." With our roles defined, we split our focus. Malik and I worked to maintain the barrier while channeling energy into our attacks. Each strike reverberated through the air, sending shockwaves into the horde. But just as we began to feel the tide turning, something unexpected happened. A colossal Zypherian emerged from the back, towering above its comrades. Its scales glistened in the sunlight, a terrifying beast that commanded attention. "Look out!" Leo shouted, pointing. The massive creature charged, its roar shaking the very ground beneath us. I felt a jolt of fear, the sheer size and power of the beast overwhelming. "We need to distract it." "On it!" Malik shouted, his eyes narrowing with determination. He shifted his focus, gathering energy for a powerful attack. "Wait," I yelled, a realization dawning. "Let's lure it into the trap." "Are you crazy?" Leo exclaimed, but I could see the spark of understanding in his eyes. "It's our best chance. If we can draw it into the canyon, we can isolate it," I shouted, adrenaline surging through me. "All right," Malik said, determination igniting. "We'll draw it in. Leo, get ready." As the beast charged, we used the barrier to redirect its path. "Now," I shouted, and we unleashed a blast of energy into the air, catching its attention. The Zypherian roared, its massive head turning toward us. "This way," Malik urged, waving his arms to guide it into the canyon. The creature hesitated, then barreled toward us, crashing through the debris as it pursued our lure. My heart raced as we fell back, leading it deeper into our trap. "Keep it coming," I yelled, adrenaline pumping. We had to time this perfectly. As we neared the center of the canyon, I felt the atmosphere shift again. The energy crackled around us, almost alive, as if it were responding to our intentions. "Get ready," Malik shouted, positioning himself for the final move. With a final burst of speed, we led the beast to the canyon's narrowest point. "Now," I yelled, and we unleashed everything we had. The combined energy surged forth, striking the Zypherian just as it reached the narrow pass. The creature roared in pain, the force of our attack slamming it against the canyon walls. We had done it. As the dust settled, I glanced at my friends, exhilaration flooding through me. We trapped it. But the celebration was short-lived. The beast struggled against our barrier, its strength unmatched. "It's not done yet," Leo shouted, fear creeping into his voice. "Focus," I commanded, feeling the energy within me crackle. "We need to finish this." The Zypherian roared again, a sound of pure fury that echoed through the canyon. I felt the ground shake beneath me, the air thickening with its rage. "Let's finish it," Malik shouted, his eyes blazing with determination. We began to channel our energy, pouring everything we had into one final attack. The atmosphere around us pulsed, resonating with our combined strength. "Together," I yelled, locking eyes with Malik and Leo. "On 3. 1, 2, 3. With a united roar, we unleashed a torrent of energy, a blinding wave of light that enveloped the canyon. The Zypherian screeched, its cries drowned out by the overwhelming force of our attack. For a moment, time stood still as the energy surged forward, the atmosphere thick with power and determination. Then, with a deafening crack, the energy collided with the Zypherian. The blinding explosion of energy illuminated the canyon, casting jagged shadows on the stone walls. For a heartbeat, I could see everything: the massive form of the Zypherian caught in the heart of our attack, the rippling shockwave that radiated outward, and the stunned expressions on Malik and Leo's faces. Then the world erupted in a cacophony of sound and light. I stumbled backward, shielded by the barrier we had crafted, but the shockwave nearly knocked me off my feet. Dust and debris filled the air, choking the canyon in a haze. I coughed, trying to clear my throat as I peered through the chaos. "Is it over?" Leo shouted, his voice barely breaking through the din. "I don't know," I gasped, heart racing. "Malik, can you lower the barrier?" With a nod, Malik gritted his teeth, his hands trembling as he focused. The shimmering energy flickered and faded, revealing the aftermath of our attack. As the dust settled, we cautiously stepped forward, breathless with anticipation. The enormous Zypherian lay sprawled against the canyon wall, its once menacing presence diminished. Its scales shimmered eerily, the creature's breath shallow and labored. "Did we?" Leo began, hope and disbelief mingling in his voice. I took a tentative step closer, heart pounding. "Let's check it out." As we approached, I felt the ground shift beneath me, an ominous rumble echoing through the canyon. Guys," I called, anxiety creeping into my voice. "I think we should." Before I could finish, the canyon trembled violently, sending a shudder through the air. The Zypherian stirred, its massive body beginning to rise, fury radiating from its eyes as it glared at us. "Get back," Malik shouted, raising his hands. I barely had time to react before the beast lunged, its jaws snapping with a speed that belied its size. We stumbled back just in time, the creature's teeth narrowly missing Malik's shoulder. Not yet, damn it, Leo cursed, scrambling to regain his footing. We can't let it escape. Let's try to contain it again, I shouted, scrambling to regain my composure. We had done it before, we could do it again. I gathered my thoughts, channeling the energy from the atmosphere around us. The air crackled with power as I focused, drawing in the vibrant energies that had turned our lethal environment into a weapon. Now, I yelled, feeling the energy surge through my veins. We launched our combined attack, a radiant beam of light that streaked toward the Zypherian. The creature roared, anger amplifying its strength as it batted the energy aside with its massive claws. No, focus, I yelled, desperation creeping into my voice. Malik and Leo rallied, channeling their energy alongside mine. This time, we needed more than just a singular attack. We needed a strategy. Try to corral it, I shouted. Keep it moving. With a renewed sense of purpose, we surrounded the beast, each of us channeling energy from different angles. The atmosphere thickened with tension, a palpable force that surrounded us. The Zypherian fought against us, its massive body thrashing as it attempted to escape. We need to wear it down, Malik urged, determination flashing in his eyes. I nodded, adrenaline fueling my resolve. Let's do it. Together, we unleashed a series of smaller, rapid attacks. The light flickered in the air, striking the beast from all sides, forcing it to defend itself instead of attacking us. With each strike, I could see it weakening. Its movements became sluggish, its roars less fierce. But just as victory seemed within reach, another twist unfolded. The canyon walls began to tremble once more, but this time it felt different. I could sense something beneath us, a deep vibration echoing through the rock. What is happening? I murmured, anxiety creeping into my gut. Before I could voice my concern, the ground erupted. A fissure tore through the canyon, sending shockwaves up and down the walls. Get out of here, Leo shouted, panic etched on his face as we barely managed to stay upright. The Zypherian seized the opportunity, lunging past us, trying to escape the chaos that was unfolding. No, I yelled, instinctively reaching out to intercept it. But the beast was far too powerful. It surged past me, crashing toward the canyon's exit, where the ground split and crumbled. Block it, Malik, create a barrier, I shouted, but it was too late. The Zypherian burst free, leaving us behind as it charged into the wilderness beyond, its roars echoing through the valley. Damn it, Malik swore, his hands clenching into fists. We were so close. But before I could respond, the canyon shuddered again. We need to move, I urged, glancing at the widening fissure. We sprinted toward the canyon's exit, dodging falling rocks and debris. The very ground beneath us felt unstable, as if the world was fighting against us. As we reached the canyon's opening, I turned back for one last glance. The Zypherian had escaped, but the battle wasn't over. It was a setback, not a defeat. We had underestimated it, but we wouldn't make the same mistake again. As we stumbled into the open air, I took a deep breath, the familiar, toxic atmosphere swirling around me. It was lethal, but it was also our greatest weapon. Where do we go from here? Leo panted, catching his breath. We track it, I replied, determination surging through me. If we can find its lair, we can regroup and plan our next move. We need to turn this into our advantage. Malik nodded, fire igniting in his eyes. We know how it fights now. We can outsmart it. I grinned, the thrill of the chase bubbling to the surface. Exactly. We turn its escape into a hunt. We'll make it regret crossing paths with us. As we set off into the wilderness, the thrill of anticipation coursed through me. The Zypherian thought it had escaped, but we had turned our loss into a new opportunity. In a world where the air could kill us, we had learned to thrive. The Deathworld's atmosphere would not be our downfall, it would be our greatest weapon. We pressed onward into the dense forest surrounding the canyon, the atmosphere heavy with moisture and the scent of decaying foliage. The Zypherian had a head start, but our resolve burned brightly. Every footstep on the damp earth propelled us closer to our prey. "Stay alert," I cautioned, scanning the treetops for any signs of the creature. It could be waiting to ambush us. Malik nodded, his expression grim. "We need to rely on our surroundings. This is its territory, and we're the intruders now." Leo fell in step beside us, the determined gleam in his eyes revealing the adrenaline coursing through his veins. "Let's make use of the atmosphere. If we can tap into the ambient energy here, we might be able to track it." The forest around us thrummed with life, the air rich with energy, but I could feel the weight of uncertainty. The Zypherian was a formidable adversary, and we had underestimated its strength before. "Let's split up," I suggested. "We can cover more ground that way. Keep in contact, and don't take any unnecessary risks." "Are you sure that's a good idea?" Leo asked, a hint of concern in his voice. "It is," I insisted. "We're stronger together, but right now we need to be strategic. Trust me." We exchanged nods, our silent agreement hanging heavy in the air. With that, we split into 3 separate paths, each of us becoming a pulse of energy in the vibrant forest. As I moved through the trees, I focused on the energy surrounding me. Each step sent ripples through the atmosphere, and I felt the feedback intensify. The air crackled, teasing at the potential I could harness. The Zypherian had left a trail of chaos in its wake, and I needed to tap into it. Closing my eyes, I took a deep breath, inhaling the unique mixture of gases that filled the air. It was toxic, yes, but it also hummed with power. Channeling my focus, I extended my senses outward, searching for any signs of the creature. In the stillness, I felt something shift, a tremor beneath the ground. My heart raced. I opened my eyes, my instincts alert. The forest felt alive, the energy swirling like a storm around me. A series of low growls echoed nearby, sending a shiver down my spine. I crept forward, careful to keep silent, when I spotted movement. The Zypherian, its massive frame partly obscured by the foliage, was pacing back and forth, its scales glinting ominously. It appeared to be recovering, gathering its strength. "Guys, I think I found it," I whispered into the comms, my voice steady despite the tension tightening in my chest. "Copy that," Leo's voice crackled through. "We're closing in. What's your position?" I relayed my coordinates, my mind racing. "We need to strike before it gets the chance to escape again. It's still weakened, but we need to work fast." "Agreed," Malik chimed in. "We can't let it regroup. Let's converge on its position." The weight of our mission bore down on me, each second feeling like an eternity. I had to find a way to ensure our attack would land this time. I scanned the surrounding area, eyeing the natural formations that could serve as cover. The Zypherian was formidable, but if we could catch it off guard, we might just turn the tide in our favor. "I'm moving in," I decided, adrenaline pumping through my veins. "Keep your eyes peeled for an opening." "Be careful," Leo cautioned. "We'll be right behind you." With that, I edged closer to the creature, using the thick underbrush as cover. My heart pounded in my chest, the anticipation almost overwhelming. Suddenly, the Zypherian let out a roar, shaking the ground beneath me. It sensed something, its head snapping toward my direction. I froze, barely daring to breathe. In that moment of stillness, I realized it was now or never. With a surge of courage, I channeled the energy around me, feeling it surge like a tempest. "Now!" I yelled into the comms, racing forward. I unleashed a concentrated blast of energy, the force erupting from my palms as I aimed directly at the Zypherian. The beam struck true, colliding with its side and sending the creature staggering. Leo and Malik burst from the underbrush, joining me as we launched a coordinated assault. Energy beams crisscrossed through the air, striking the Zypherian from multiple angles. The creature roared in pain, its fury palpable. It fought back, swinging its massive claws, but we had learned from our past encounters. We moved as a cohesive unit, dodging and weaving, staying just out of reach. "Keep pushing, don't give it a moment to breathe," Malik shouted, his voice fierce with determination. The forest erupted into chaos as the Zypherian struggled against our combined power. I could feel the energy flowing through me, each pulse syncing with the rhythm of the battle. As we continued to assault the creature, I sensed something shifting in the atmosphere. A low rumble echoed through the trees, and the ground trembled beneath us. "Wait, something's not right," I shouted, but it was too late. A massive fissure split the ground, swallowing everything in its path. I barely managed to leap aside, but the Zypherian lost its footing, tumbling into the chasm that had opened beneath it. "No!" I cried out, reaching for it as it fell. But the creature disappeared into the darkness below, the roar of its fury fading as the chasm sealed shut with a thunderous crash. Breathless, I stumbled to my feet, the shock of what had just happened settling over me like a heavy fog. "What just happened?" Leo exclaimed, his voice filled with disbelief. "I don't know," I admitted, still in shock. "But we can't let it go like this. It's still alive. We just need to find a way down." Malik nodded, his brow furrowed with concentration. "There's got to be a way to navigate around this. We can't give it a chance to recover." I looked down at the now solid ground where the Zypherian had vanished, the energy pulsing beneath my feet. "It has to be somewhere nearby. We need to act fast." "Let's regroup and figure this out," Leo suggested, determination sparking in his eyes. "If we can track its movements, we'll have the advantage." "Right," I agreed, feeling the weight of our task ahead. "We're not done yet." As we moved together, I couldn't shake the feeling that our encounter with the Zypherian had awakened something far deeper than we had anticipated. The atmosphere around us was charged, and with it came a sense of purpose that ignited my spirit. We had turned our setbacks into opportunities, and the battle was far from over. Together, we would face whatever challenges lay ahead, wielding our unique strengths against the formidable foe. Letting the energy of the Deathworld pulse through us, we forged onward, ready to confront whatever awaited us in the shadows. The atmosphere around us crackled with tension as we maneuvered through the twisted trees, determined to find the Zypherian before it could regroup. The fissure it had fallen into felt like a gaping maw, a reminder of the dangers lurking beneath the surface. But we were more than mere survivors. We had harnessed the very elements that had once threatened our existence. "We need to split up and search for any signs of a way down," I suggested, scanning the dense foliage for clues. "If the Zypherian is still alive, it won't stay hidden for long." Leo and Malik nodded, and we set off in different directions, each attuned to the atmosphere's whispers. I could feel the energy coursing through my veins, a palpable reminder of the power we possessed. As I ventured deeper into the forest, the shadows loomed larger and the air grew thicker. The Zypherian was somewhere down below, and I could sense it. My instincts told me it was recovering, gathering its strength for another strike. Suddenly, a low growl rumbled in the distance, reverberating through the ground like an approaching storm. My heart raced. "Leo, Malik, do you copy?" I whispered into the comms, urgency lacing my voice. "Loud and clear," Malik replied. "I think I've found a cave system that could lead down. What about you?" "I can hear it," I said, straining to listen. "It's alive and moving. We need to regroup and get down there." "On our way," Leo confirmed. As I waited, I took a moment to center myself, breathing deeply and channeling the energy around me. The atmosphere pulsed with potential, and I focused on the connection I felt to this world, the primal force that surged through the Deathworld. When Leo and Malik arrived, I quickly relayed what I had sensed. "We have to move now. It's our best shot to catch it off guard." The three of us approached the cave Malik had discovered, its entrance hidden behind a curtain of vines. The air grew cooler as we stepped inside, the dim light revealing the damp, rocky walls. We moved cautiously, listening intently for any signs of the Zypherian. The cave was filled with strange echoes, amplifying the sounds of our footsteps. I could feel the tension in the air. The moment of confrontation was drawing near. Suddenly, The ground shook beneath us as the Zypherian's roar erupted from the depths of the cave, sending chills down my spine. "It's here," I shouted, adrenaline surging through me. "Stay close," Malik urged, raising his energy weapon. We pressed on, following the sounds of the creature as it echoed off the walls. The anticipation hung heavy in the air, each step bringing us closer to the inevitable showdown. Finally, we entered a vast chamber where the Zypherian stood, its scales glimmering ominously in the flickering light. It was wounded but still fierce, a titan ready to fight. "Now," I yelled, channeling the energy around me and unleashing a concentrated blast toward the creature. The energy beam struck the Zypherian, causing it to stagger back, its eyes blazing with fury. Leo and Malik followed my lead, launching their own attacks as the creature retaliated, swiping its massive claws at us. We danced around its strikes, using our agility to evade while firing back with our weapons. The energy pulsed between us like a heartbeat, a symphony of power and determination. "This is our moment," I shouted, feeling the connection between us intensify. In a coordinated effort, we launched a series of rapid-fire attacks, each blast striking true. The Zypherian roared in anger, its body writhing as it fought back, but we pressed on, refusing to relent. As we continued our assault, I could feel the atmosphere shifting, a surge of energy gathering in the chamber. It was almost as if the Deathworld itself was empowering us, channeling its wrath through our combined force. With one final push, I focused all my energy into a single, concentrated blast, unleashing it with everything I had. The beam struck the Zypherian squarely in the chest, a brilliant flash of light erupting from the impact. The creature let out a final, deafening roar as it staggered, the power of our combined attack overwhelming it. In that moment, the Zypherian collapsed, its massive body hitting the ground with a resounding thud. We stood there, breathless, the chamber echoing with the aftermath of our victory. "We did it," Leo gasped, his eyes wide with disbelief. Malik nodded, his expression a mix of exhaustion and triumph. "We turned the atmosphere into our greatest weapon. We've proven that we can harness its power." As we caught our breath, I felt a sense of profound accomplishment wash over me. We had faced the Zypherian, conquered the challenges of our world, and emerged victorious. "Let's move. We need to find a way out of here and share what we've learned," I said, the thrill of our success pulsing through me. "This victory is just the beginning. We can use this knowledge to defend our planet and harness the power of our atmosphere." As we made our way back through the cave, I couldn't help but think about the path ahead. The Deathworld was a crucible that had forged us into something greater, a force to be reckoned with. Together, we had transformed our lethal atmosphere into a superpower, and I knew our journey was far from over. The universe awaited, and we were ready to embrace whatever challenges lay ahead, armed with the strength we had discovered within ourselves. With our spirits high and our resolve unwavering, we stepped out into the light, ready to forge a new destiny among the stars. The sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows over the rugged terrain of Earth, a planet that had once been deemed inhospitable, yet now thrived with life in ways the galaxy had never anticipated. With the defeat of the Zypherian and the unlocking of our atmospheric powers, my team and I, the Deathworld humans, had gained a reputation that stretched far beyond our home. But even amidst our victories, the whispers of the past began to rise, echoing through the canyons and valleys of our lethal world. "Leo, you need to see this," Malik shouted, his voice cutting through the quiet afternoon air. He stood on a rocky outcrop, a look of awe plastered across his face. I climbed up beside him, brushing the dirt off my hands, curious about what had him so captivated. Below us, nestled in the shadows of jagged cliffs, lay a series of ancient structures, partially obscured by thick foliage. The architecture was unlike anything I had seen before, towering pillars engraved with glyphs that glowed faintly under the dying light. It was as if the remnants of an ancient civilization had awoken from a deep slumber. "What do you think it is?" I asked, excitement thrumming in my veins. Malik had a knack for uncovering the mysteries of our world, and I could see that same spark of curiosity reflected in his eyes. Could be a temple or some kind of research facility. But look at those symbols, they're unlike anything I've seen, he replied, pointing to the engravings. We need to investigate further. As we descended, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being drawn into something much larger than ourselves. The air crackled with anticipation, a palpable energy that felt alive around us. It was as if the atmosphere itself was aware of our presence, waiting for us to unlock its secrets. As we approached the ancient structures, I marveled at the sheer size of the pillars. They towered above us, their surface intricately carved with depictions of strange creatures and celestial events. Each glyph seemed to pulsate with a rhythm that matched the quickening of my heart. Malik led the way, his footsteps sure and confident, while I followed closely, taking in every detail. "Look at this," he said, kneeling beside a stone that had partially broken away from the others. The symbols were clearer here, and as I leaned closer, I felt a strange warmth radiating from them. "This is definitely a language, but I can't quite place it. It's like a combination of several ancient scripts." I reached out, brushing my fingers over the smooth surface. As I did, a rush of energy coursed through me, sending a shiver down my spine. "Did you feel that?" I asked, glancing at Malik, whose eyes widened in surprise. "Yeah, it's like—" He paused, searching for the right words. "Like the air is alive. Maybe these structures are connected to our atmosphere somehow." His words hung in the air, and I felt a sense of urgency. We were standing on the edge of something monumental, and it was clear we had stumbled upon a piece of our history that had long been forgotten. But what did it mean? Suddenly, a low rumble echoed through the valley, sending vibrations through the ground beneath us. I exchanged a worried glance with Malik. "What was that?" "Not sure, but it came from inside," he replied, his expression turning serious. "We should explore further." With cautious determination, we made our way to the entrance of the largest structure, which was framed by towering vines that cascaded down like natural curtains. The air grew cooler as we stepped inside, enveloped by shadows. Inside, the walls were lined with more of the glowing glyphs, illuminating the vast chamber with an eerie light. The center of the room held an altar of sorts, adorned with crystalline structures that caught the light and refracted it into a dazzling display. But it was the figure standing behind the altar that froze us in our tracks. He was tall, dressed in a dark, flowing robe that shimmered like the night sky. His eyes were a brilliant shade of blue, and he seemed to radiate a power that was both alluring and terrifying. "Welcome, travelers," he spoke, his voice echoing off the walls, resonating deep within me. "You have come seeking answers, have you not?" I opened my mouth to respond, but no words came. Instead, I felt a tug at my consciousness, a beckoning that invited me to step forward. Malik seemed equally entranced, his eyes locked onto the figure. "Who are you?" I finally managed to ask, my voice barely above a whisper. "I am Zephyrian, the guardian of the echoes," he replied, stepping forward with an elegance that belied his towering stature. "You stand at the crossroads of your destiny, for the power of your atmosphere is but a fraction of what lies within your grasp." "What do you mean?" Malik asked, breaking the spellbinding silence. "The battles you fought against the Zephyrian were but a prologue," Zephyrian said. "The true war is yet to come, and it will test not only your strength, but the very essence of what it means to be human." A shiver ran down my spine. "What kind of war?" "The kind that will bring you face to face with those who wish to harness the true potential of Earth's atmosphere," he warned. "They will stop at nothing to reclaim their lost power, and you will need to unlock the full potential of your lethal environment to prevail." I glanced at Malik, my mind racing. The implication was clear. We had merely touched the surface of our power, and now we had to dig deeper. But could we truly unlock the mysteries of the past to confront the future? As Zephyrian continued to speak, I felt a growing sense of purpose swelling within me. I understood that we were not just explorers, we were warriors, tasked with defending our world against an encroaching darkness. "Unlocking your true potential will not be easy," Zephyrian cautioned, his gaze piercing through the dim light of the chamber. "You must undergo trials that will test your mind, body, and spirit. Only then can you awaken the full power of the Deathworld atmosphere. What kind of trials? I asked, my curiosity mingling with a hint of trepidation. Each trial is designed to push you beyond your limits, he explained. You will face your greatest fears, confront your past, and embrace the primal energies that flow through your world. But be warned, failure could mean death not just for you, but for all of humanity. The weight of his words settled heavily in the air. I glanced at Malik, who wore an expression of determination that mirrored my own. If we were to face a new threat, we had no choice but to accept the challenge. Where do we begin? Malik asked, stepping forward with resolve. The first trial lies in the Whispering Wastes, Zephyrian instructed, his voice calm yet commanding. It is a barren land where the winds carry the echoes of the past. There, you will confront what you have lost and what you fear to lose again. Whispering Waste, I murmured, the name sending a chill down my spine. I had heard tales of that desolate region where many had entered, but few returned. Trust in your instincts and in each other, Zephyrian urged. The bond you share will be your greatest weapon. Now go, the path is perilous, but the rewards are greater than you can imagine. With his words echoing in my mind, we stepped back into the daylight, a sense of urgency coursing through us. We had no time to waste. As we journeyed toward the Whispering Wastes, the landscape transformed. The lush greens of the forest gave way to stark, arid plains dotted with twisted rock formations. The air felt heavy, thick with anticipation and the whispers of those who had come before us. Do you think we're ready for this? Malik asked, breaking the silence as we walked. I took a moment to gather my thoughts. I don't know. But if we don't face our fears, we won't be able to protect Earth. We owe it to our planet and to everyone we lost. Malik nodded, his jaw set in determination. Then we'll face whatever comes our way, together. The waste loomed ahead, a vast expanse that seemed to stretch infinitely. As we entered, the wind picked up, carrying with it soft, ghostly voices that whispered secrets of the past. I could almost make out words, a mix of sorrow and regret that tugged at my heart. Listen, I urged Malik, straining to hear the sounds that surrounded us. They're trying to tell us something. But the whispers faded just as quickly as they came, leaving us in an oppressive silence that felt heavy on my chest. Each step forward felt like we were walking into the maw of a great beast, and with every gust of wind, the air felt charged with energy. As we pushed deeper into the wastes, I felt a tremor beneath my feet. The ground shifted, and suddenly, the earth erupted into a flurry of dust and debris. I barely had time to react as a massive creature burst forth from the ground, its scales glistening like obsidian under the dim light. What the hell is that? Malik shouted, instinctively stepping back. It looks like a Gorgath, I replied, recalling the stories from my childhood. A legendary beast thought to be extinct. The creature roared, a sound that reverberated through the air, shaking the very ground beneath us. I felt the weight of fear clawing at my insides, but I pushed it aside. We can't let it intimidate us, I urged, my voice steady. We need to show it that we're not afraid. Malik nodded, his resolve ignited. As the Gorgath charged toward us, I could feel the atmosphere shifting, responding to our fear and adrenaline. In that moment, I recalled Zephyrian's words about embracing the primal energies of our world. Focus, I shouted, channeling my thoughts into the atmosphere around us. The air crackled with energy, and I felt the heat rising as the Gorgath bore down on us. With a surge of willpower, I extended my hands, drawing on the lethal energy of the atmosphere. I could feel the wind swirling, intensifying around us, and I directed that energy toward the approaching beast. The Gorgath halted, caught off guard by the sudden shift in the air. I could see confusion in its eyes as it reeled back, and in that split second, I made my move. Now, Malik. Together, we unleashed a wave of energy that collided with the Gorgath, sending it stumbling back. It roared in anger, but I could feel its resolve wavering as we stood firm, united against the creature. The Gorgath staggered, its scales shimmering ominously as it regained its footing. With a low growl, it glared at us, eyes burning with a mix of fury and confusion. We stood our ground, hearts pounding, adrenaline coursing through our veins. This was a test, one that would determine whether we were worthy of the trials ahead. "Stay close," I shouted to Malik as the Gorgath prepared to charge again. With every beat of its massive heart, the ground trembled, sending vibrations through my legs. I focused on the energy swirling around us, tapping into the primal force that flowed through the atmosphere of our home. It was alive, crackling with potential, and I was determined to harness it. We can't let it overwhelm us. The beast lunged forward, its massive jaws snapping just inches from me. I ducked to the side, barely avoiding its lethal bite, and Malik followed suit. We moved in tandem, dodging the creature's powerful attacks as if we were dancing through a deadly waltz. "Now," I shouted, and together, we released another surge of energy. This time, it manifested as a concentrated beam of light, striking the Gorgath in the chest. The creature howled in pain, stumbling backward. It was a small victory, but we knew better than to let our guard down. "This thing is tougher than I thought," Malik panted, eyes wide with both fear and exhilaration. "What if we can't defeat it?" "Just keep moving," I replied, my mind racing. "We can't let it sense our fear. We need to outsmart it." The Gorgath let out another furious roar, and I sensed a shift in the atmosphere, as if it was reacting to our struggle. It was as though the very air around us was charged with our emotions, amplifying our resolve or our doubts. With each close call, memories flashed through my mind, faces of those I had lost, the sacrifices made for our survival. I could feel their presence urging me on, filling me with strength. This beast was a manifestation of my fears, but I wouldn't allow it to defeat me. The Gorgath charged again, this time feigning to the left before swinging right. I barely had time to react as it knocked Malik off his feet. "Malik!" I shouted, rushing toward him. Before I could reach him, the Gorgath turned its attention toward me, its primal instinct to eliminate the threat overpowering any semblance of caution. I barely dodged the swipe of its claw, feeling the rush of wind as it missed me by mere inches. "Get up! We need to work together," I yelled to Malik, who was struggling to regain his footing. As he rose, I could see the fire in his eyes. He was ready to fight. With newfound determination, we faced the Gorgath together. "On three, we hit it with everything we have," I instructed, breathless but focused. 1, 2, 3. We unleashed a powerful wave of energy, our wills combining in a blinding burst of light. The atmosphere crackled around us, responding to our united strength. The Gorgath roared, but we stood our ground, drawing upon the primal forces that surged through the air. The energy we directed struck the Gorgath square in the chest, sending it staggering back with a pained roar. We pressed our advantage, pushing forward and launching another wave of energy as the beast tried to regain its footing. The Gorgath's eyes widened in shock. It had never encountered humans who could wield the very atmosphere of their homeworld against it. As we advanced, I could see the doubt creeping into its fierce demeanor. In that moment, I realized something. This creature was not just a mindless beast. It was a guardian of the past, a protector of ancient secrets buried deep within the whispering wastes. "Wait," I shouted, feeling an instinctive pull toward the Gorgath. "We're not here to destroy you. We need your knowledge." The creature hesitated, its massive frame pausing as it regarded us with a mix of confusion and curiosity. "Your power is tied to the atmosphere," I continued, my voice steady. "We seek to unlock our true potential to protect our world from a greater threat. We don't want to harm you." Malik, catching on to my plan, stepped forward cautiously, his hands raised in a non-threatening gesture. "We want to learn, to understand. The atmosphere is changing, and we need your guidance." The Gorgath's eyes narrowed, weighing our words against its instinct to fight. In that moment, the air shifted again, crackling with energy as it took a step back, considering our proposal. Slowly, it lowered its massive head, the fierce glow in its eyes dimming. I could feel a change in the atmosphere, a tentative truce formed in the space between us. As the dust settled, the whispers of the waste swirled around us once more. It was as if the land itself was responding to our plea, echoing the hope that had ignited within me. The Gorgath turned its gaze toward the horizon, a low rumble emanating from its throat. To unlock the true power of the Deathworld, you must learn to embrace both the light and the darkness within, it said, its voice deep and resonant. I exchanged a glance with Malik, both of us processing the creature's words. The path ahead was no longer about fighting. It was about understanding the duality of our world, the balance between chaos and order, fear and strength. "Will you guide us?" I asked, my voice filled with determination. With a powerful nod, the Gorgath stepped back, signaling for us to follow. "Then let us begin your true training." As we followed the creature deeper into the whispering wastes, I felt a surge of hope coursing through me. We were not just humans in a hostile environment. We were survivors, ready to unlock the depths of our potential and protect our world from the looming darkness that threatened to consume us. This was just the beginning of our journey, and I was ready to face whatever trials awaited us. As we ventured deeper into the whispering wastes, the landscape morphed around us. Towering rock formations twisted into intricate shapes, their surfaces etched with ancient symbols glowing faintly in the dim light. The air thrummed with energy, a palpable reminder that we were in a place steeped in power and history. The Gorgath moved gracefully, despite its massive size, leading us through narrow canyons and across vast plains. I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched, not just by the Gorgath, but by the very land itself. The atmosphere shimmered with potential, and every gust of wind seemed to carry whispers of the past. "Stay close," I murmured to Malik, who was scanning our surroundings with a mix of awe and apprehension. "We need to be ready for anything." Eventually, we reached a wide, circular clearing surrounded by jagged cliffs. At the center stood an enormous stone altar, covered in ancient runes that pulsed in rhythm with the energy of the atmosphere. It was breathtaking, a relic of a time long forgotten, yet imbued with the promise of knowledge. "This is the heart of the wastes," the Gorgath said, its voice echoing against the cliffs. "Here, you will face the trials of the Guardian. Only those who prove themselves worthy will unlock the true power of the atmosphere." Malik and I exchanged glances, a mixture of excitement and dread flooding through us. "What do we need to do?" I asked, stepping closer to the altar. "The trials will test your physical strength, mental fortitude, and your connection to the atmosphere," the Gorgath explained. "You must face each challenge with courage and unity. Failure will not end in death, but it may seal your fate from accessing the knowledge you seek." "Great," Malik said, rolling his shoulders. "Just what I love, some good old-fashioned trial by fire." I couldn't help but chuckle nervously. "Let's hope we can keep the fire to a minimum." With a nod of affirmation, the Gorgath began the first trial. "This is the trial of strength. You must lift the Guardian's stone to prove your physical prowess." It stepped aside, revealing a massive stone slab embedded in the ground, shimmering with an ethereal light. The stone looked impossibly heavy, yet I felt a strange pull toward it, as if it beckoned me to come closer. Malik moved first, stepping up to the slab. He grunted with effort as he crouched down, gripping the edges. His muscles tensed, and for a moment it seemed he might lift it. But despite his determination, the stone remained unmoved, and he collapsed back to the ground, panting. "Not so easy." "Huh," I quipped, trying to lighten the mood. He shot me a glare, but I could see a glimmer of respect in his eyes. "Your turn, big shot." Taking a deep breath, I approached the stone, feeling the energy of the atmosphere swirling around me. I could almost hear its whispers, urging me to tap into its power. "Here goes nothing," I muttered, crouching low and grasping the edges. With all my might, I heaved upward, straining against the weight. The stone felt impossibly heavy at first, but I focused on the energy around me, channeling it through my body. Slowly, the stone began to shift. With a surge of adrenaline, I pushed harder. The slab rose from the ground, hovering just above my head. A wave of exhilaration washed over me, mingling with disbelief. I had done it. As I lowered the stone back down, the Gorgath nodded in approval. You have passed the first trial. But remember, strength is not only in the body but also in the mind. I exchanged a triumphant glance with Malik. 1 down, 2 to go. The Gorgath gestured for us to follow as it led us to the next challenge. This time, we entered a narrow passage carved into the cliffside. The air grew thick with tension, and I could feel the weight of the atmosphere pressing down on us. This is the trial of wisdom, the Gorgath explained. You must solve the riddle of the waste to proceed. As we stepped into the dimly lit chamber, the atmosphere shifted again, growing heavier and more oppressive. The walls were adorned with intricate carvings depicting various creatures and landscapes of our world. At the center stood a pedestal, upon which lay an ancient tablet inscribed with symbols. The riddle is this: I can be broken without being held. I can be spoken without a mouth. I am the unseen force that binds all together. What am I? The Gorgath's voice resonated, filling the chamber. I furrowed my brow, turning the riddle over in my mind. It sounds like trust, I mused aloud. Trust? Malik echoed, scratching his head. That doesn't seem right. No, it has to be something more fundamental, I replied, pacing as I considered the words. Something that's not tangible but essential. Love, Malik suggested, though his voice lacked conviction. No, it's deeper than that. Think about it, it binds everything in the universe, the unseen force that connects us all. Suddenly, the answer struck me like a bolt of lightning. It's silence, I exclaimed. Silence can be broken, spoken without a mouth, and it's the force that connects us in moments of understanding. The chamber fell silent as the Gorgath regarded us with an inscrutable expression. Then, slowly, the tablet began to glow. You have proven your wisdom. The path shall open for you. As the stone pedestal shifted, revealing a hidden door, Malik and I exchanged a look of relief and excitement. We had faced 2 trials and emerged stronger, but the last challenge loomed ahead. With a heavy heart and renewed determination, I stepped through the doorway, ready to face whatever awaited us in the final trial. We emerged from the chamber into a vast cavern, illuminated by bioluminescent fungi clinging to the walls. The air was thick with moisture, and the ground was soft beneath our feet. An eerie silence enveloped us, interrupted only by the faint dripping of water from stalactites high above. Welcome to the trial of courage, the Gorgath announced, its voice echoing through the cavern. Here, you will face your deepest fears. Only by confronting them can you unlock the true potential of the atmosphere. Malik and I exchanged anxious glances. Great, just what I need, more nightmares, Malik muttered, his bravado faltering for the first time since we began this journey. Stay focused, I urged. We've come this far. We can't back down now. The Gorgath led us deeper into the cavern, where shadows danced around us, seemingly alive with our apprehensions. The further we ventured, the more oppressive the atmosphere became. It was as if the very walls were closing in, testing our resolve. Suddenly, the ground trembled beneath our feet, and the shadows coalesced into figures, dark manifestations of our fears. Malik stumbled back, eyes wide, as a grotesque version of himself emerged from the darkness, a twisted caricature of his insecurities. Malik, I shouted, but my voice felt muffled in the heavy air. The shadow Malik laughed cruelly, a sound that chilled my bones. You think you're brave? You're just a scared child hiding behind a mask of bravado. Malik clenched his fists, his fear visibly gnawing at him. Shut up. You're not me, he shouted, but doubt crept into his voice. I stepped closer, determination surging through me. Malik, listen, this is just an illusion. You are stronger than this. The shadow snarled, lunging toward Malik. But just before it could strike, I interposed myself, feeling a surge of energy coursing through my veins. Get away from him, I roared. In that moment, the atmosphere responded, crackling with power as I tapped into its essence. I extended my hand toward the shadow, feeling the weight of my own fears mingling with Malik's. We are not alone in this. We fight together. As my words echoed in the cavern, Malik regained his composure. You're right, he shouted, channeling his energy alongside mine. Together, we focused our will on the shadow, and with a united force, we pushed back against the darkness. The shadow screamed, its form flickering as it began to dissipate. "No, you can't defeat me," it wailed. But with one final push, we shattered the illusion, sending it spiraling back into the void. Breathless, Malik and I stood together, our hearts racing. "That was intense," Malik panted, wiping sweat from his brow. "But we did it," I replied, feeling a surge of pride. "We faced our fears and emerged stronger." The Gorgath watched us with a nod of approval. "You have passed the trials of the Guardian. Now, the power of the atmosphere is yours to command." As the cavern began to tremble, the walls illuminated with vibrant colors, the atmosphere crackling with energy. It swirled around us, and I felt it penetrate my very being, filling me with warmth and strength. The ancient runes glowed brighter, and I could sense a connection forming a bond between us and the elemental forces of our world. "What happens now?" Malik asked, eyes wide with wonder. "You must learn to harness this power," the Gorgath replied. "But remember, with great power comes great responsibility. You will need to protect the balance of our world." Just as I was about to respond, the ground shook violently. Cracks formed in the cavern floor, and the shadows swelled around us, darkening the vibrant light. "What's happening?" Malik shouted over the cacophony. "The wastes are reacting to your newfound power," the Gorgath warned. "We must escape." With urgency, we sprinted back through the cavern, the energy around us building to a climax. As we neared the exit, the shadows lunged toward us, clawing at our heels. "Keep moving," I yelled, adrenaline pumping through my veins. Finally, we burst into the open air, the light of the sun flooding over us. The ground trembled beneath our feet, and I looked back to see the cavern collapsing in on itself, the shadows disappearing into the depths. We had made it out, but the wastes were changing, reshaping themselves in response to the energy we had unleashed. The Gorgath turned to us, its eyes filled with a mixture of pride and concern. "You have awakened something powerful, but there are those who will seek to exploit it." "What do you mean?" Malik asked, catching his breath. "Others will come, drawn by the energy you now wield," the Gorgath warned. "You must prepare yourselves, for the true test of your strength lies ahead." As we stood on the precipice of the whispering wastes, the sun shining down on us, I felt a mix of exhilaration and trepidation. We had faced our fears, conquered the trials, and unlocked the potential of the atmosphere. But now, we had to protect that power from those who would seek to abuse it. "We can do this," I said, determination settling in my chest. "Together, we'll safeguard our world." Malik nodded, resolve shining in his eyes. "Let's show them what Deathworld humans are capable of." As we descended the cliffs, I couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. The trials had changed us, bonded us, and awakened a power we could scarcely comprehend. Whatever lay ahead, we would face it together, ready to protect our home and all it represented. The sun hung low in the sky as Malik and I made our way through the whispering wastes. The landscape felt different, almost alive, as if the atmosphere pulsed with a newfound energy after our trials. Wisps of vapor coiled around us, shimmering like living silk, and I could almost hear whispers of ancient power carried on the wind. "We need to strategize," I said, breaking the silence that enveloped us. "If the Gorgath is right, we can't afford to be caught off guard." Malik nodded, his brow furrowing in thought. "We should return to the settlement. There are others who can help us prepare for whatever's coming. The more allies we have, the better." I agreed, but I couldn't shake the feeling that time was of the essence. "Let's move quickly. I want to ensure everyone knows what we're capable of now. We'll need to unite our people." As we approached the settlement, a series of wooden structures built into the rocky outcrops of the wastes came into view. Smoke curled lazily from chimneys, and the sounds of life echoed in the distance. Children played, while adults tended to their tasks, the sense of community palpable. "Roderick," a voice called out, breaking through the din. I turned to see Torin, the settlement's leader, making his way toward us. His face was lined with worry, and I could see the strain in his eyes. "Torin, what's going on?" I asked, concern rising within me. "Strange occurrences," he replied, glancing around as if the shadows themselves were listening. "We've seen groups of outsiders moving in the outskirts. They're armed, and they've been scouting our borders." "Scouting? For what?" Malik interjected, crossing his arms defensively. "Hard to say," Torin replied. "But rumors are spreading. People are scared. They say the outsiders are searching for something powerful." "Powerful like what we unlocked?" I asked, the implications heavy in the air. Torin nodded grimly. "Exactly. They're after the energy you two tapped into. If they find out what you can do, we might not be able to stop them." "Then we need to prepare," I said, my heart pounding. "We can't let them take what we've just learned. Not after everything we've fought for." Malik stepped forward, a determined glint in his eyes. "We need to rally everyone. Get the best fighters and strategists together. We can't let them catch us off guard." Torin's expression shifted from worry to determination. "I'll gather the leaders. We'll hold a council tonight to discuss our options." "Good," I replied. "We'll join you and explain everything we've learned. The more people understand what's at stake, the stronger we'll be." As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows over the settlement, Malik and I set about preparing for the meeting. We gathered supplies, weapons, and anything that might bolster our defenses. The energy of the atmosphere buzzed around us, a constant reminder of the power we now wielded. Night fell, and the settlement glowed with lanterns, creating a warm yet tense atmosphere. People gathered around a large fire in the center of the settlement, the flames crackling and popping as they illuminated worried faces. Torin stood to address the crowd, his voice steady despite the fear in the air. "Thank you all for coming. We have much to discuss. As you may have heard, there are outsiders approaching our borders, and they are looking for something that could threaten our very existence." Malik and I stepped forward, and the crowd fell silent, eyes focused on us. "We've faced a trial," I began, my voice steady. "And through it, we discovered how to harness the energy of our atmosphere. But with that power comes great danger. The outsiders are searching for it, and we must be ready to defend what we have." Murmurs rippled through the crowd, uncertainty mingling with determination. I saw fear in their eyes, but also a spark of resolve. They had faced the wastes, and they were not about to let outsiders take what was theirs. "What can we do?" one of the elders called out from the back, his voice thick with worry. "We need to organize our defenses," Malik replied, stepping forward. "Every able-bodied man must be ready to fight. We should set up patrols and establish watch points along the borders. If we know where they're coming from, we can prepare for them." The crowd nodded, some shouting their agreement. Ideas flowed, and soon, plans began to take shape. The energy in the air shifted from fear to determination, a palpable force building as everyone committed to the cause. As the night wore on, we discussed tactics, pooling our knowledge and experiences. The atmosphere thrummed around us, enhancing our focus, sharpening our senses. With every word exchanged, the bond between us grew stronger, solidifying our unity. Eventually, the council began to wind down. Torin raised his hand, calling for silence. "Let's not forget that we're not just fighting for ourselves, but for everyone in this settlement. We must be vigilant, but we must also be wise." I nodded in agreement. "And we must also use our powers wisely. This energy we wield is a tool, but it can just as easily destroy us if we're not careful." As the fire flickered low, a sense of purpose settled over the group. I felt a renewed determination surge within me. We would protect our home and the knowledge we had gained, no matter the cost. "Let's get some rest," Malik suggested, his eyes glimmering with fatigue. "Tomorrow, we prepare for whatever is coming." I agreed, but sleep eluded me. My thoughts swirled with visions of the impending conflict and the powers we had yet to fully comprehend. The shadows seemed to whisper my name, and I couldn't shake the feeling that our trials were far from over. As dawn broke, the first light of day casting a golden hue over the wastes. I steeled myself for the battles ahead. The gathering storm of our fate loomed on the horizon, and I was ready to meet it head-on. Dawn broke over the whispering wastes, casting a soft glow across the rugged terrain. I stood on the rocky outcrop overlooking the settlement, taking a moment to breathe in the crisp air, charged with the remnants of the energy we had harnessed. The horizon was clear, but I could sense the tension building like a storm cloud on the cusp of breaking. "Malik," I called out, spotting him making his way toward me, a determined look etched on his face. "What's the plan for today?" "I've been thinking," he said, joining me at the edge. "We need to establish a network of scouts. The more eyes we have on the ground, the better prepared we'll be. We can't wait for the outsiders to make their move." I nodded, appreciating his strategic mindset. "Agreed. We should send small groups out to patrol the borders and watch for any unusual activity. We can also set up a relay system to keep everyone informed." As we discussed our ideas, I could feel the weight of responsibility pressing down on my shoulders. This wasn't just about me and Malik anymore. We were leading a community that depended on us for safety and guidance. "Let's gather a few volunteers and get to work," I suggested. "We can't afford to waste any time." We made our way back to the settlement, rallying a group of capable individuals eager to contribute. They listened attentively as Malik and I outlined our plan, and the air was thick with resolve as we prepared to head out. After gathering supplies, we split into 3 teams, each assigned to different sections of the border. I found myself leading one of the groups, comprised of a mix of seasoned hunters and eager young men. As we trekked through the rugged terrain, the atmosphere felt charged, a reminder of the power we had unlocked. I could sense the energy pulsing around us, a constant presence that amplified our senses. We moved cautiously, scanning our surroundings for any signs of trouble. "Stay alert," I cautioned, glancing back at my team. "We don't know what we're up against." As we rounded a rocky outcrop, a distant sound caught my attention. Low, rhythmic thumping reverberated through the air. I held up my hand, signaling the group to halt. "What is that?" one of the younger men whispered, his eyes wide with curiosity. "I'm not sure," I replied, straining to hear over the wind. "But we should check it out." We moved quietly, the thumping growing louder as we approached a small ravine. Peering over the edge, I caught sight of a group of outsiders gathered around a metallic contraption that pulsed with energy, its surface reflecting the sunlight. They were armed and appeared to be studying the device with intense focus. "What do you see?" Malik's voice crackled in my earpiece, a reminder that we were all connected. "There's a group of outsiders down here," I replied quietly. "They're working on some kind of machine. It looks powerful." "Can you get closer?" Malik urged. "We need to know what they're up to." I nodded, gesturing for my team to follow me as we crept closer, moving from rock to rock. The outsiders seemed oblivious to our presence, their attention fixed on the device. I strained to catch snippets of their conversation. "The energy levels are off the charts. If we can harness this," one of them said, a broad-shouldered man with a rugged appearance. "The locals don't understand what they're dealing with," another replied, a wiry figure with sharp features. "We have to be careful. If they find out, they could retaliate." My heart raced at their words. They were planning something significant, and it didn't bode well for us. "We need to report this back," I said, turning to my team. "They're clearly after the energy we discovered, and if they manage to harness it, we'll be at a severe disadvantage." As we began to back away, I felt a sudden shift in the atmosphere. The air grew heavy, thick with tension, and I knew something was off. "Fall back," I hissed, but it was too late. A shout erupted from the outsiders, and the rugged man I had seen earlier pointed directly at us. "Get them," he roared, raising his weapon. Panic surged through me, and I turned, sprinting back the way we came. The sound of footsteps followed close behind, and I could hear the outsiders shouting orders. "Split up," I yelled, trying to keep my team together while urging them to disperse. We dashed in different directions, adrenaline fueling our flight. I could hear the crack of gunfire behind me, bullets whizzing past, and I pushed myself harder, the weight of responsibility urging me forward. I had to get back to the settlement and warn everyone. My heart pounded in my chest as I navigated the rocky terrain, zigzagging to evade the incoming fire. I could hear the shouts of my team in the distance, the chaos erupting around us. Suddenly, I spotted a familiar figure emerging from the shadows. Malik. He had been waiting for our return, and I waved him down, desperate to regroup. "Where's the rest of your team?" he asked, his eyes wide with concern. "They're scattered. The outsiders saw us," I gasped, breathless. "We need to get back and warn the settlement." "We can't leave them," Malik insisted. "We have to go back for them." I hesitated, weighing the risks, but I knew he was right. "Okay, let's get our weapons and make a stand." As we moved back toward the ravine, the atmosphere hummed with tension, the air thick with the weight of what was to come. We quickly gathered our supplies, weapons, and the courage to face the approaching storm. "Are you ready?" Malik asked, his voice steady despite the chaos surrounding us. "Let's finish this," I replied, a surge of determination igniting within me. We had come too far to back down now. With renewed purpose, we set off toward the sound of the conflict, ready to confront the outsiders and protect our home. The air crackled with energy as we approached the ravine, our hearts pounding in unison with the rhythm of the impending battle. As we approached the ravine, the sounds of chaos intensified. Gunfire echoed through the rocky landscape, mingled with shouts of our people trying to fend off the intruders. The air was thick with tension, charged with the energy we had learned to harness, and it filled me with determination. "Stick together," I urged Malik and the others as we crested a ridge, taking in the scene below. The outsiders were using their advanced technology to overpower our defenders, a group of fighters holding their ground, but clearly struggling against the sheer force of the intruders. "We have to strike fast," Malik said, scanning the area. "If we can take out their leader, it might cause enough confusion to turn the tide." "Let's find a way to flank them," I suggested. "We can use the terrain to our advantage." With a nod of agreement, we descended the ridge, moving stealthily to avoid detection. The thumping of my heart echoed in my ears as we crept closer, the adrenaline surging through my veins. We were no longer just fighting for ourselves. We were fighting for our home, our families, and the future of our people. As we reached a position overlooking the conflict, I could see the rugged man from before barking orders, his confidence palpable. "Push them back. We need to secure this energy." With a silent count of 3, Malik and I surged forward, our weapons drawn. We engaged from the shadows, taking out the closest intruders with precision. The chaos erupted as our sudden assault caught them off guard. "Keep pushing. Don't let them regroup," I shouted to my team, who rallied behind us, energized by the element of surprise. The tide of the battle began to shift. The outsiders, caught in a whirlwind of confusion, struggled to maintain their formation as we pressed our advantage. I spotted the rugged man trying to rally his forces, and with a determined glare, I moved toward him. "Here," I shouted, pointing Malik toward the leader. "Let's take him down." We pressed forward, dodging fire and weaving through the chaos. I could feel the energy from the environment thrumming around me, a reminder of what we had accomplished and the power we now wielded. As we closed the distance, the rugged man turned, his eyes wide with surprise. "You think you can stop us?" he sneered, leveling his weapon. "Yes," I retorted, my voice steady. "We've already won." In a flash, Malik and I lunged at him. We disarmed him with practiced ease, the weapon clattering to the ground. With a swift move, I brought my elbow down on his shoulder, forcing him to the ground, and Malik secured his hands behind his back. The tide had truly turned. The remaining outsiders, witnessing their leader's defeat, began to falter. The cries of my people rallied around us, fueling our determination. "Push forward," I yelled, my voice cutting through the noise. "We can't let them escape." As the outsiders fell back, we pressed the attack. The energy around us surged, empowering our every move. We fought with a ferocity born from desperation and hope, reclaiming our home inch by inch. The last remnants of the outsider group scattered, their confidence shattered. We had turned the tide of battle and emerged victorious. The dust settled, revealing the bruised but unbroken faces of my fellow warriors. Breathless, I surveyed the scene, pride swelling in my chest. We had not only defended our home, we had demonstrated our resilience, our determination, and the power that came from embracing our environment. Malik clapped a hand on my shoulder, a smile breaking through the tension. We did it. We actually did it. Yeah, but this isn't over, I replied, glancing at the horizon. They'll be back, and we need to be ready. We will be, Malik said, a fire igniting in his eyes. We've faced the worst and come out stronger. If they think they can take us, they'll have to face the full might of Deathworlders. With the battle behind us, we returned to the settlement, where the community awaited us, their faces a mix of concern and relief. Together, we had stood against the storm, and now we would prepare for whatever lay ahead. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow over our home, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. The world was vast, filled with dangers and challenges, but we had each other. Together, we would harness the energy of our Deathworld, turning its lethal atmosphere into our greatest strength. The echoes of the past had led us to this moment, and now we would forge a future defined by resilience, unity, and an unyielding spirit.